You're allowed to dispute an election in this country. It's not illegal. And the left has lied to you, the American people, for years by not only pretending it's illegal, but actually, based on that fantasy, trying to jail innocent people. Now, you may have seen, and I talked about it previously, briefly, these new Arctic frost documents leaked and released by the Justice Department and FBI. And Arctic frost was the name of the sham investigation set up by the Biden gang to try to jail Trump and turn this country into a one-party state by targeting hundreds of Republican Party operatives, activists, innocent American citizens, lawyers, you name it, for daring to dispute the 2020 election. And when you look at that Arctic frost information, it's pretty clear to me and many others that they were not only interested in going after Trump, but also, as I talked about, the electors at the various states that were put in there as alternatives in the case that challenge to the outcome of the election was successful in these various states, where there were legal challenges and other reasons to think that the result was not lawful and should go to Trump. And it happens all the time. Alternative electors are presented to Congress in presidential during presidential election contests. The Biden gang decided to criminalize that activity that is protected by the First Amendment. The president has a right to pursue these issues and investigate these issues as president himself, certainly also separately as a candidate exercising his First Amendment rights, etc. But they tried to target and jail people for doing something Democrats have been doing virtually every election cycle for the last, for as long as we've been keeping records almost. And they've been unsuccessful, although some of these cases are still being pursued at the state level. But when you look at the focus on it at the national level through these Arctic frost documents, it confirms or presents strong circumstantial evidence that these state prosecutions you've heard about by Fani Willis in Florida, in Georgia, or in Arizona, or Michigan, or Wisconsin, where they were targeting electors who were presented as alternatives as the law allows, and they targeted them with criminal prosecutions. Our colleague here, Christina Bobb, who's a senior attorney here, she's been targeted for prosecution in Arizona. I don't think she had anything to do with Arizona, but she was on the national Democrat hit list as far as I'm concerned. And you had these nonprofit groups, nominally nonprofit, I shouldn't say nominally, literally nonprofit groups, who were helping organize this. And one group, this Lawfare targeting Trump and people around him, and one of these groups was called States United. And Judicial Watch has been investigating States United and specifically also the various state, Democratic prosecutors at the state and local level, like Fani Willis. We've been famously exposing her lies and misconduct. And we've been getting documents about the conspiracy against the civil rights of Americans who dared to dispute the Biden administration's narrative as to the 2020 election. And specifically, we received just the other day 5,700, not just the other day, I guess it was a little bit ago, 5,789 pages of records from the Michigan Department of Attorney General in a Freedom of Information Act request that shows the state's coordination with this nonprofit, as I described, States United Democracy Center. So here's the headline on our release. Judicial Watch documents detail Michigan Attorney General relationship with leftist nonprofit to target Trump and Republicans over 2020 election disputes. Now, Michigan, they charged some of these electors. And the Attorney General of Michigan is Dana Nessel. And the charges were thrown out by a judge earlier this year. And it's worth kind of taking a look at what she did. Let's open the story there. because it's a sham prosecution. They tried to jail Trump, but the case ended because he was became president again. But they kept on pursuing others in the several states. A Michigan judge has dismissed, this is from NPR, it must have been painful for NPR to write this story, has dismissed criminal charges against 15 people who signed false certificates. They weren't false certificates, saying that Donald Trump won the state electoral votes in 2020. It's the latest loss to prosecutors' efforts to hold accountable people associated with Trump's attempt to overturn his election laws. Now, I'm not aware of anyone who sought to overturn an election. Are you? I'm aware of people who sought to have what they believe to be the lawful result upheld and affirmed under law, whether it be in the courts or in Congress, as the law allows them to do. That's not overturning an election. It's disputing an election result that you think is corrupted or incorrect. In Arizona, a judge threw out some of these cases and sent it back to a grand jury. So they're not winning, but they're still pursuing these cases as well in these other states. And just this week it was announced, or just today it was announced, a civil servant who is running a commission that's supposed to be guarding against the abuse of power by Fani Willis. Fani Willis was thrown off the case because of her corruption. He couldn't get any other normal prosecutor to take it, so he appointed himself as prosecutor. So he's going to have to figure out what to do with the charges against Trump down there. I mean, Trump is not out of the woods on these charges. Not only in Georgia, but here federally, they can potentially resurrect charges against him that the Jack Smith gang was improperly pursuing. Nessel announced the charges more than 2 years ago. 16 people originally indicted, but charges were dropped against one in exchange for supposed cooperation. And this is what the judge said. What did the judge say? What did the judge say? This is a fraud case, and we have to prove intent. And I don't believe there's sufficient evidence to prove intent. Meaning no one was trying to engage in fraud. They were just doing a regular election dispute. So where did this garbage prosecution arise? It looked like it was helped along by this States United group. And we have the documents to prove it. The records show that States United has a multi-state operation aimed at prosecuting and disbarring Trump attorneys and associates in several states. States United was started by Norm Eisen, who was a former Obama gang member. He worked in the Obama White House as his ethics czar. That's all you need to know. Who is his ethics czar, as I said, and special counsel also to the judicial the judiciary impeachment coup against Trump. And we found the documents that show repeated communications between this group and the Michigan Attorney General's office that pursued this sham investigation and prosecution and harassment and lawfare, trying to jail activists in Michigan for daring to dispute the Biden administration's narrative on the election. You're allowed to dispute an election in this country. It's not illegal. And the left has lied to you, the American people, for years by not only pretending it's illegal, but actually, based on that fantasy, trying to jail innocent people. And here we have a States United left-wing organization communicating with a senior official at the Michigan Attorney General's office, and here it is. Following up on our earlier conversation regarding the USPS in collaboration with our clients in Nevada. Nevada, they had a case against electors just resurrected this week. It's all heating up again this week, by the way. We've put together a draft common interest agreement for your consideration. Once we've got everyone on board, we can schedule a multi-state call to discuss further. Please let us know if you have any questions or concerns. Conspiracy confirmed, everyone. That's the smoking gun. If you, as I also believe, that these investigations and prosecutions are not made in good faith, they are based on a fraudulent interpretation of the law, and they're designed to suppress the civil rights of not only Trump and people around Trump's campaign that was trying to vindicate the rule of law in the elections. Here we've got evidence of a conspiracy to violate your civil rights, or the civil rights of those targeted. Here, this is, and it's explicit. Here's a document, an action plan. Election deniers scored multiple wins in the Arizona and Michigan primaries and will now head to the general election in November. As States United has documented, candidates who continue to spread lies about our elections are running for positions that oversee and influence election administration across the country, posing a threat to our democracy. In Michigan, Attorney General Dana Nessel is seeking a special prosecutor to consider charges against people in the alleged plot to gain improper access to vote tabulating machines. One of the 9 is Matthew DiPerno, the election denier, chosen by Michigan Republicans to run against Nessel this fall. So when they say election denier, they know what they're saying. It's kind of an echo of climate denier. And when they use the phrase denier, what are they reflecting back on? Do I hear an answer out there? Holocaust denial. So prior to the use of climate denier or election denier, it was you're a Holocaust denier. That's who they're trying to group you in with anytime you object to the leftist narratives they want you to believe. So they've got this joint operation that's going on targeting innocents who did nothing wrong other than exercise their civil rights under the Constitution and federal election law and state law in these circumstances to challenge and dispute the 2020 election. And this is what, not only about the 2020 election, but as you could see with the prosecutions that resulted in the swing states, it was designed unsuccessfully in the end to stop these folks from participating in the 2022 elections, and then obviously designed to stop Trump from winning in 2024. And one way you stop a president from winning or a candidate from winning is by defanging or decimating his supporters. And so when you go after state party officials and other activists who are key in these swing states, you make it harder for them to win. Now, did it result in Trump losing? No. Just because the conspiracy failed, just because the criminality failed, just because the bank wasn't robbed, just because the election wasn't stolen, doesn't mean a crime wasn't committed. And this is what I would do if I were the president. I would look at documents like this. I'd look at the Arctic Frost documents and obviously everything else and go to town investigating them with a special prosecutor that he directs, that reports to him outside the Justice Department, because Justice Department's implicated in this. Outside the FBI, because the FBI is implicated in this. Because they got to investigate not only these states that are targeting American citizens, but also what the Justice Department and the FBI did. I mean, it just came out this week. Speaker McCarthy had his phones targeted by the FBI under Biden. I think that had generally been known. And then also another member of Congress, he's no longer there, our great friend at Judicial Watch, Louis Gohmert, had his phones targeted. So they were running spy operations against the Speaker of the House over these sham legal analyses being pushed by these left-wing fronts, essentially an operative of the Obama administration who went into the private sector and just kept on pushing. There's no one else doing this investigation like Judicial Watch. It's not just in Michigan, but in Arizona. And Christina Bobb had a whistleblower complaint in her case highlighting the connections between States United and Arizona. It raised other circumstantial questions about corruption. So these lawfare battles have not ended. The left would have you believe, oh, it's only about President Trump engaged in retribution. No, no, no. The retribution was against Trump and his supporters. And Lord forbid someone like Comey is hauled into court for lying to Congress, or Letitia James for fraud and such. That's penny ante compared to the real things that they were involved in. A plot against the republic. So not only, you know, what's frustrating is it's like how much stuff do we have to uncover before something happens in terms of prosecutions? And I know there's been evidence or news that some people have received subpoenas on certain aspects of what went on. And there may be some investigations going on I don't know about, but in my experience, if you don't know about an investigation that would be as important as the one I'm describing, it's probably not happening or not proceeding appropriately. It's getting too late in the game to do anything. And in order for it to get done, I think the president has got to intervene personally at this point. I just don't see it happening otherwise. Pam Bondi probably, if had her druthers, she'd probably do everything I'm asking to do, but she's got this Justice Department that would destroy her if she did anything like that. And even when she does take the steps, even when the FBI does take the steps, they're thwarted internally. So Judicial Watch will continue to pursue this information through our FOIAs, through lawsuits. But we can't prosecute. They know what's going on. They have no excuse not to proceed, the Justice Department. And if I'm President Trump, you got to get it done, sir. You got to get it done, because relying on the Justice Department to get it done, it's just not going to happen. Now, it doesn't mean nothing will get done. It just means not sufficient accountability will take place. And as soon as Trump leaves office, even if a Republican replaces him, I think he's going to be prosecuted again. And everyone else around him will get prosecuted again. I really do. And unless there are consequences for the lawlessness that nearly destroyed our republic, it will happen again. They're promising to do it again, and I believe them because they did it once already. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.